when you mention off market and creative deals, can you just explain a little bit what that means for people who are watching who may not know necessarily what it is?
Yeah, definitely. So off market just simply means the property's not publicly listed or advertised for sale. I think technically if it's not on MLS, it's off market, but these would be properties that, the owner hasn't even expressed an interest publicly in selling the property. So by way of example, we have access to properties that we have a feeling the owners might want to sell for whatever reason. Maybe they're in a distressed situation. Maybe they haven't paid the taxes. Maybe there's a lien on their property. Maybe they're absentee owners, whatever the case may be. So then we'll start reaching out to those individuals or companies, if it's a company, and basically see if they're interested. Now, you get a lot of no's, but you get a lot of yeses too, relatively. So when you work off market, there's pros and cons. The hard part about off market deals is the amount of work it takes to find them. But if you find them, you have a lot less competition, right? And so you're not bidding against the open market. You're not bidding against thousands of people that are looking. You're bidding against just you versus them. And depending on how sophisticated they are, how much they're in tune with the market, how desperate they are. I mean, all those are big factors in how well you can negotiate the deal. But in any event, off market, you're almost always going to get better pricing as a buyer because there's less competition.
Right. Absolutely. And so that goes for the properties that you yourself and your partners invest in, and also for some buyer clients. Is that right?
Yeah, depending. So for example, if a retail agent, has a buyer, and, we had this happen where one of our agents had a cash buyer and they were looking at a high price point, up to like 7 million in cash. Right. And so with something like that, we went and reverse engineered a special search for any property that met his criteria. And, we came up with a list of however many, and we would just start reaching out to those off market opportunities. Primarily where we're doing it is on the investment side these days. And we're just finding a lot of deals. And I'll tell you, the market has shifted. I mean, everybody knows that everything's slowed down, but it's exciting for us, especially being in Tampa, Florida, because we are seeing buyer leverage that buyers haven't had in 10 years at least. It's a buyer's market, and it has not been a buyer's market even before COVID. Even, I've been here since 2015. And I mean, literally every year it's been a hot market, but obviously COVID took it to a level that unprecedented level. Yeah. This is the first time, like I would say the last year is the first time that things have really been a buyer's market in 10 years in Tampa. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's giving people the leverage. So the reason I bring that up is to say, when we're talking to these sellers now, they're starting to finally come back down to earth. They were very unrealistic for the longest time, because imagine if you were getting hit up every day by 10 people to sell your property, you would think it was worth 3 times what it actually was, right? So we're seeing a slowdown. We're seeing it coming down to reality by these sellers. And that's just making our job a lot easier, right? Because they're more in tune with what's going on, because they have to be.
How big is the Tampa market in the sense of like population wise? How big is the city?
I think the MSA is like 3 million people. Yeah. So we have Tampa, St. Petersburg, and then Clearwater is kind of that MSA. So it's big. It's 2 counties. It's 3 large cities. So there's a lot going on.
So I imagine that you really don't have any trouble finding as long as you spend enough time and effort and resources to find some of these off-market sellers. You don't have trouble finding them these days.
We actually work nationally on that side of things. But we focus here because the deals are better here, right? It's a lot easier to dispose of the deals if we find them here. So, there's a lot of opportunities, but there's a ton of competition, right? I mean, that's just how the game goes. So in an area that's hot, you're always going to have competition. And just because the market's cooled down, it doesn't mean investors have stopped buying, right? It means that retail, mom and pop, first-time home buyers have slowed down, but the investors are more aggressive and more active than ever before. You know, at least the ones who know what they're doing.